She didn't beg when they threw her out, just clutched the locket around her neck, stepped into the rain, and whispered to no one, "I didn't do it." Welcome back, my beautiful family and friends. If you're hooked in and you're ready to enjoy this story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one, and you don't want to miss it. Now let us begin. She didn't beg when they threw her out, just clutched the locket around her neck, stepped into the rain, and whispered to no one, "I didn't do it." The mansion gate slammed shut behind her like a final verdict. Lina didn't turn around, her cheap canvas shoes soaked through in seconds. The storm felt personal, like the sky itself believed she was guilty. Her fingers trembled around the little drawstring bag that held all she owned, a cracked phone, 2 blouses, and a half-empty lotion bottle. She didn't cry. Not yet. Crying was for later, when no one could see. Inside the house, someone else was probably polishing the silver tray she'd been blamed for stealing. Across the city, Julian Hayes watched his assistant clear the boardroom. He didn't hear the congratulations or care. The merger went through, the numbers were excellent, and everyone expected him to smile. He didn't. He loosened his tie, eyes drifting to the skyline through the glass. Another win, another empty room. "Your driver's downstairs," his assistant said, carefully avoiding the framed photo on his desk, the one of the little girl with the missing front tooth and a purple birthday hat. He left it there. He didn't know why. Lina sat on a cold bench at the corner of 7th and Alcott, drenched, her stomach cramping from hunger and shame. Julian's car slowed near the red light. That's when their worlds brushed. Her face turned toward the headlights, eyes red, skin pale, hair clinging to her cheeks. He couldn't look away. "Have you ever been blamed for something you didn't do? Did anyone stand up for you, or did you have to walk alone? Tell me in the comments." The light turned green, but Julian didn't press the gas. His driver shifted. "Sir?" Julian's hand lifted absently. "Pull over." The rain sheeted down the windshield. Lina was still sitting there, curled like someone trying to disappear into herself. Her arms were wrapped tightly around that little cloth bag, soaked through, clutched like it was everything she had. Julian rolled down his window halfway. Stupid, he thought. She could be anyone. You don't do this. You don't get involved. But something in her stillness felt familiar. "Miss," he called softly. She didn't move. Then her head lifted. She looked at him like someone who had stopped expecting kindness. I'm not asking for anything," she said, voice brittle and shaking. "Just sitting. I'll leave." "I didn't ask you to leave," Julian said. "You look cold, hungry." She said nothing. A long pause, the kind where a whole life hangs in the silence. "I know a diner," he added. "A few blocks up. You'd be dry at least." Another pause. Then Lina nodded. Just once. Tiny, almost invisible. The diner was warm, smelled like butter and burnt coffee. She didn't touch the menu, just stared at the window, rain sliding down like it wanted to cry for her. Julian watched her hands, how carefully she laid the wet bag beside her, how she flinched when the waitress asked if she wanted pancakes. "You okay?" he asked finally. Her lip twitched. "Do I look okay?" He didn't answer. She looked down. Didn't think so. And in that crack, something flickered between them. Not trust. Not yet, but something true. She didn't eat much. A few bites of toast, half a pancake. She kept her eyes low, like she was afraid to be seen chewing. Julian watched her from across the booth. Something about the way she picked at her food. It reminded him of the first time he took his daughter to a restaurant after her mom left. Small, cautious bites, waiting for the other shoe to drop. "You don't have to rush," he said. "I'm not," Lina replied quickly. But she was. Every movement screamed hurry. Hurry before this disappears too. When the check came, she stood abruptly. "Thank you. For the food. I should go." "Where?" he asked. She paused. "A little too long. I'll figure it out. It's still raining," he pointed out. "I've been wet before, right? And starved before too." She flinched. That's when he knew she'd heard words like that before, but from crueler mouths. "I have a guest house," he said carefully. "Separate from mine. No strings. Just a roof." Lina shook her head. "You don't even know me." "I don't have to." Her eyes darkened. "Why are you doing this? Out of pity or guilt?" That one landed. He didn't answer. Because maybe it was both, or neither. Maybe it was the way she hadn't begged, hadn't cursed, hadn't tried to explain, just endured. And he saw himself in that. "I'm not trying to fix you," he finally said, "just offering a dry bed." She looked at him, really looked. And then, barely above a whisper, "Just one night." Julian had never noticed how loud his house was until she was in it. Not her, exactly, just her presence. The extra set of quiet footsteps, the low creak of the guest house door, the faint clink of dishes in the morning. She didn't say much, and when she did, it was usually, "Thank you, I'll be gone by tomorrow," or the ever-present, "You don't need to do this." But she folded the blanket on the couch before she left a room, wiped her shoes before stepping on the marble floor, even offered to help Maria, the housekeeper, who stared at Julian like, "Who is this girl?" Lina had been in the guest house 3 days. She was still leaving. Every morning she promised herself, and every night, something exhaustion, decency, the fact that her shoes were still drying kept her in place. Julian didn't push, but one night her scream ripped through the quiet. He bolted out of bed, heart pounding, rushed into the guest house without knocking. She was sitting up on the couch, shaking. "I'm sorry," she gasped. "It was just a dream. I didn't mean to." Julian stepped back, gave her space. "Nightmare?" She nodded. "What about?" Her voice dropped. "Them accusing me, calling me a thief. I had nothing, and they took that too." Julian didn't speak, just walked to the kitchen, poured her a glass of water, and handed it to her with both hands. She took it. That was the first time their fingers touched. Neither pulled away right away. Julian wasn't home when she found the room. The door was slightly ajar. She thought it was a linen closet. Instead, it was a gallery of grief, soft yellow walls, a small bed, untouched, shelves lined with stuffed animals, a faded poster of the solar system. But it was the photos that stopped her. A little girl with curly hair and a crooked smile, swinging, dancing, hugging a man who looked happier than she'd ever seen him, Julian, before the hollowness. On the dresser sat a child's necklace, pink plastic beads with the name Emma, spelled in chunky letters. Lina didn't mean to touch it, but her fingers reached before her brain caught up. She liked that one. His voice behind her made her freeze. Julian stood in the doorway, expression unreadable. Wouldn't take it off. Wore it to school, church, even bed. "I'm sorry," Lina whispered, stepping back. "I shouldn't have." "No," he said quietly. "You should have. Someone should." He walked in slowly, picked up the necklace. "Car accident, 3 years ago. Driver was texting." Silence settled like fog. Lina's lips parted, voice trembling. "My little sister died too, while I was away working. Mum was sick, and I sent money every week. But one night, she couldn't breathe, and no one called for help in time." Julian looked up. "It was pneumonia," Lina said, voice barely there. "Cheap medicine would have saved her." She blinked fast. "So yeah, I know what it's like to lose someone and still wake up." They didn't hug, didn't cry. They just sat, side by side, on the edge of a bed that hadn't been touched in 3 years. And for the first time, neither of them felt alone in their pain. Julian found her in the kitchen the next morning, sleeves rolled, hair pulled back, flipping eggs with the kind of quiet competence he hadn't seen in years. She didn't see him at first. She was humming off-key, soft, like a memory trying to resurface. "Maria's going to think you're trying to replace her," he said, stepping in. Lina jumped a little, then smirked. "I figured I owe you breakfast at least, unless rich people don't eat eggs." "I eat eggs," he said. "I just don't usually have someone make them who knows what they're doing." She slid a plate toward him. "Then today's your lucky day." They ate in silence, but it was the good kind, the kind where words aren't needed. After, he walked her to the garden. "Emma planted that tree," he said, pointing to a tiny flowering dogwood. "Wouldn't let me hire a gardener, said it needed to struggle a little to grow right." Lina knelt down beside it, brushed dirt off a leaf. Smart kid. She was. Another pause. Then, "I never told anyone about my sister," Lina said. "Not really. They all just acted like she was a fact, not a person." Julian looked at her. "What was her name?" "Isabel. She used to braid my hair while I was sleeping. I'd wake up with bows and glitter clips like a damn Christmas tree." He smiled. "I'd like to hear more about her sometime." Lina blinked quickly. "You would?" "Yeah." She turned to the tree. Then I think I'd like to stay a little longer. Not as a guest, not as charity, but maybe, just maybe, as something more. The sun was out. For once, Julian invited her to the fundraiser. Just a small dinner, he'd said. A few donors, nothing fancy. Lina borrowed a dress from Maria. It was navy blue, modest, elegant. She wore her sister's necklace under it, tucked against her skin like armor. She stayed close to the wall, mostly quiet. Julian's hand grazed hers once during dinner. Her heart slammed so hard she thought someone might hear it. Then came him, Graham Whitmore, Julian's business partner. Wealthy, polished, cruel in the way only confident men could be. "Julian," Graham said, too loud, too smiling. "This your new project?" Lina stiffened. Julian opened his mouth, closed it. "She works for me," he said flatly. "She's been through some things." "Oh," Graham said with a knowing chuckle. "So, a rescue mission?" Lina's smile froze. Julian didn't correct him, didn't say her name, didn't say, "She's not a project, she's a person." Later she slipped out through the side entrance, dress catching on the hedges, chest burning. She left a note. "I thought I was healing, but tonight reminded me, people still see what they want, and maybe you do too. Thank you for the eggs, for the tree. I won't forget them." When Julian returned and found the guest house empty, his breath caught, just like when Emma died, an empty room, a hollow ache, and a name he couldn't say out loud. Mostly she stared at the ceiling. Sometimes she replayed the look on Julian's face when she walked into the fundraiser. Soft pride like he saw her, until he didn't, until she became his project. That's what hurt the most. Not Graham's words, but Julian's silence. He let the world define her, and it fit, because somewhere, deep down, maybe he still saw her that way too. Julian hadn't slept. The note sat beside Emma's necklace on the kitchen counter. He read it again. "I thought I was healing." He whispered the words aloud like a prayer, or a confession. Maria entered quietly. "You let her go." "I didn't mean to." "But you did." Julian stood, throat tight. "I was trying to protect her, keep things clean." Maria didn't flinch. She didn't need clean. She needed real. He looked at the garden. The dogwood tree had bloomed early this year. Maybe it was time. He found Lina on her lunch break, sitting alone on a bench outside a grocery store. She didn't run. He didn't beg. He just sat down and said, "I was a coward. I let someone speak about you like you weren't you." She looked ahead. "I've heard worse, but not from me, and that's what matters." She turned. "Why did you come?" He breathed. "Because I miss you folding blankets I didn't ask you to fold, cooking eggs I didn't deserve, talking about your sister like she's still here." Silence. Then, softer, "Because I think I might love you, and that terrifies me." Lina blinked. "Then you're not the only one scared," she whispered. Spring settled in like a soft exhale. The mansion's garden was in full bloom. The dogwood tree stood taller now, small pink blossoms opening to the sky. Julian stood beside it, buttoning his cufflinks, scanning the driveway like a man who still couldn't quite believe she said yes. And then there she was. Lina stepped out of the cab, her hair in soft curls, a canvas bag over her shoulder, same one from that first night, but today she wore it like a badge, like survival. "Hey," she said, smiling. Julian smiled back. "I was starting to think you changed your mind." She walked up to him. "I almost did. But then I remembered your eggs are terrible without me." He laughed. "So that's what this is about, breakfast." "No," she said, quieter now. "This is about choosing a life that doesn't start with pain and end with running." Julian reached into his pocket and held something out. The pink plastic bead necklace. Emma's. Lina's eyes welled. "Julian, she would have liked you. Fierce, kind, the good kind of stubborn." Lina looked at the necklace for a long moment, then gently wrapped it around the tree. "She's still here," she said. "So's Isabel." And then, as if nothing needed to be said again, she slipped her hand into his. Not as a maid, not as a rescue, but as a woman who had walked through fire and come out whole. Do you believe people can change your life when you least expect it? Or do we find the right people when we finally believe we deserve them? Let me know in the comments. This one's personal. If this story moved you, even a little, drop a comment below with your favorite moment. Like, share and subscribe for more stories about the ones who show up when everything falls apart.